Good evening. Would you stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day you've given all of us. I thank you, Lord, for the men and women that you've raised up to lead our city and for the work that they do, their willingness to serve us. And I pray you'll bless them in their duties. We thank you for our police officers and firemen and the protection and service they provide us, and ask your blessing of safety upon them. Ask that you would be in this meeting tonight, that things that are constructive and good for our community would be discussed and addressed and handled wisely. I pray in Christ's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bill.
I'm sorry I have to vote.
Oh, you.
I'm sorry.
Did you get the sign-in sheet?
I do.
Okay.
I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for August the 26th, 2021. First item on our agenda this evening is the public forum. We have 3 people that have signed up to speak this evening, so we will start this evening with Brenda Powell.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Brenda Powell, and I live at 1409 31st Street here in Vienna. I noticed that there's just a couple of things on the agenda. I just wanted to say that there has been a request. Daryl Nonamaker had said that he'd like to see restrooms down on Spencer's Landing by next summer. We can hope that that will transpire. Another thing is on the resolution that is on the agenda tonight for the 12th Street land sale lease agreement. I'm not sure just exactly what all that's going to entail, but I wish, and I think others have said so also, that the city would not be leasing property, not be in real estate. Actually, that it can be costly if there's legal action that has to be taken and going to court or whatever it may be. So there are things that can be done with that property, if so that the city would take it back. We could put a bigger building down there. They could hold workshops for our youth here in this, in Vienna, to help educate them on things that would be helpful for them in the future. Another thing is the live streaming for the Vienna Utility Board. That is a very much needed thing at all of the meetings. It keeps the public informed. There are meetings that are held here in the council chambers that could be live streamed, but they're not. This is the only meeting that is. So it would be a great thing to live stream as many of the meetings that can be to keep the public informed. Another thing that I wanted to just mention, it is a dangerous situation in my opinion, and I'm not really quite sure what can be done about it. I know that, it was passed that, carts and things, golf carts and whatnot could be on the street. Well, we have a child. We're talking probably maybe 8 years old, maybe 9, that is riding an electric go-kart on the street over around in our neighborhood. Now this go-kart, I don't want to infringe on their fun or whatever, but it is a safety issue. It's dangerous because it's set so low to the ground, a vehicle cannot see them. If they're riding on the street, they cannot be seen, and I'm afraid they're going to get ran over. So I wanted to bring that to the attention of council to, I don't know what can be done, but for the safety of the children, we need to look at this. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Henry Salson. Okay, you're going to pass? All right. So we move to Jerry Thorne.
Mayor, could I ask, I know what most of these people are here for. Could we take just a few minutes before they talk? And because I know we're going to talk about the Vienna Utility Board later, but you guys might be gone. Could you or Russ explain council's role versus Vienna Utility Board as far as the process of paying things, how that, because I didn't know there's a difference. I didn't know before I became a councilman, I didn't know there was a Vienna Utility Board budget and a city budget, so I had no idea. So if you wouldn't care to expand on the difference between the two, so everyone has a clear picture of what the two separate funds, so it might help educate you guys and me too, if you wouldn't mind. Is that you or Russ, or?
You want to have a go at it?
It doesn't make any difference. We can, Jerry, do you mind if we
That's fine.
Just
do
real
what
quick.
Mike asked? I mean, you've asked to speak. If you want to go now, or we'll do what Mike asked. We won't be long, I'm sure.
No, it's very
Russ,
simple.
Russ is a lawyer. He won't be long.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Is that cool? You can
Whichever.
stand there probably just so Russ can kind of review, so you
Okay.
guys are educated about the differences.
All right.
Essentially, every municipality in West Virginia and every, I guess, utility, for a general description. By statute, there are two separate, I don't want to say funding sources, but there are two separate revenue funds. And what goes into those revenue funds, all right, you have two funds. You have a general fund, you have an enterprise fund. A general fund runs most of your municipal services. So, police, fire, in places where there's garbage, council funds, and all of the funds that go to pay for projects. In Vienna, that would be roads, streets, police, fire, the city hall, and all of the services that are generally associated with the city. That's out of the general fund. And the revenue from that fund comes from various either fees or taxes like B&O tax, or in our case we have the sales tax, or from the coal severance funds and so forth. But those are, by law, you're only allowed to take those sources and put them in a general fund. For places that have what's called an enterprise fund, and it's named enterprise fund because it looks like a business enterprise. Essentially, you have a thing like a water and sewer department in some places. In Vienna, we have the Vienna Utility Board. And they get their revenue from the fees that are charged for the use of the product that they deliver. So if they're selling water and they're selling sewer service, they get money from that, they get revenue from that, and that's used for upkeep, maintenance, to provide the service, to provide the employees, and so forth. And by law, the money that comes from water and sewer fees cannot be used for general fund fees. And general fund fees can't be used for water and sewer projects. And so the two revenue streams have to be kept apart. So the utility, the city of Vienna is set up as a separate entity, like Parkersburg has, like Morgantown has, and so forth, a utility board, which is a separate body that is in charge of governing how the money is spent that is brought in from the enterprise fund, from the utility board. Now, they all have to be spent the same way. They're all spent, when I say the same way, the same policies that are in the city of Vienna and the same statutes that govern how you're supposed to spend money, competitive bidding, the ordinances that we have for buying services, contracting services, buying products, and so forth. Those are all going to be run the same way. There are some things that are set by state code, and those are going to cover both how enterprise funds and how general funds are spent. But to the extent of what they're spent on is limited to how the money got into the fund, right? So you can use water and sewer money to pay for water and sewer projects, but you can't use water and sewer money to pay for street projects. You can use street money to pave streets, but you can't use that to put in pipes. You just can't mix the two, which is why when people people say, well, gosh, the city of Vienna has this much money, why can't they spend that on water pipes? And well, the city of Vienna in the general fund has this much money, but unless they have that money in the enterprise account, they can't spend it on there. Now, there are ways that the cities have, I don't want to say worked around it, but accommodated that. The general fund will loan money to the enterprise fund and or what have you. And that typically, that can happen. Recommend against it. You can share equipment, but when you share equipment, and when you have to account for what the percentage of it is being shared or how the revenue is, who's going to pay for what part of it or some, but most of the time, you know, it's okay for the water department to lend the street department a truck for a little bit and use that. Employees are the same way. You can have a guy who works 20 hours for the parks department for a week and works 20 hours for water and sewer. The 20 hours he works for the water department has to come out of the enterprise budget. The 20 hours that he works for the city, for the parks department, has to come out of the general fund. So essentially that's it. So you, and that's where you get into a condition where you'll have a massive, you may have a massive enterprise fund water and sewer project that's going to cost you $6 million. And you're like, well, we've got $6 million in the general fund. Why can't we use that? Because you can't commingle the two funds. You're by statute prohibited from saying, we're going to take $6 million and put it over here. And there's a whole host of reasons for that, but mostly it's just so the water department stays solvent. People don't use water in municipal governments as a revenue stream to pay for projects over here, and vice versa.
And that's cool, because that's why, because I appreciate you guys coming here. I know why you're here, and, you know, Craig knows about the water problems we have, but I just want for you guys to help educate the public, because that's when, Brenda, you on your site, to let people know there's two different funds here. So yes, the city has money in the general fund, but then again, when Craig has a water line break or whatever else, it comes out of this separate fund, and that's where your water fees or things like that. So, you know, we talk about how you generate more funds for the enterprise fund. If you raise rates or whatever else, so it's a totally different bank than what the city operates on. So everybody clear with that? Because just help me spread the word and help you guys spread the word, and I'd appreciate that, just so the city knows how there are two different funds.
Yeah, it's just have two checking accounts.
There you go.
And you can't take money out of one and put in the other, except under very special conditions.
Perfect. Thank you, Russ.
Can you follow up a little bit more then on the authority then? So like city council can city council dictate what is happening on the water and sewer, or is that only the utility board? We have to approve certain things, right, that the utility board asks for. Can you kind of explain the relationship between the board and the council?
Yeah, the utility board is set up by members that are appointed by council, with the exception of those that are set out by our ordinance. And right now, that's, you know, the mayor sits as the chair and so on and so forth. So the utility board is approved. The members are approved by council members. So you have a council member that's on the utility board by our ordinance. You have the mayor who's on the board by ordinance. And then the rest are appointed, approved by council. So the utility board essentially manages how the money that is in the enterprise fund is going to be spent. The utility board would have to come to council, but under the current Public Service Commission statutes, and I haven't looked at those in a little bit, they may change, but under my recollection of the current PSC statutes, or the statutes that govern utilities, the utility board would have to come to council for approval of raising rates, right? And then as far as the budget, the utility board by our ordinance has been given authority over the enterprise budget to spend that money to the betterment of the furtherance of water and sewage service in the city of Vienna. Council, in the past, council has approved of the budget, but it doesn't necessarily have the authority to do that. That was just kind of a customary thing where it's like, here's where this money is and here's where this money is, so everybody knows. The utility board just deals with it. The utility board is a separate legal entity. It can own property, can be sued separately from the city of Vienna. The same thing, city of Vienna is separate from the utility board. For all intents and purposes, they're two separate departments. It's just one, under certain conditions, the utility board has to ask permission to do a limited number of things from city council. And city council, would have to vote to amend or change or throw out or whatever the ordinance to change that as it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Jerry?
Yeah, I'm Jerry Thorne, and I live at 45th Place, and most of this row here are my neighbors, my wife, and actually the women did not call each other to wear black today, but they ended up that way. What we're here for today, our development was founded in 1997, and there were some issues that have been with that development, and it appears that maybe the city of Vienna overlooked some things back in 97, because we have a cul-de-sac and it comes to a T at the end instead of a circle. We had brick about every 20 feet that ran the width of the road going down there, And I had to approach Mayor Noe years ago after I moved there to get the bricks taken out because he said he wouldn't bring snowplows down the street as long as we had bricks. So we got those taken out. But the issue that I'm here for today, and the main one that's a problem for us now, are the water lines that we have. Back in '97, somehow, instead of getting regulation water pipes, we got sewer drain pipes put in instead of water pipes. And I don't know how that happened or how it got overlooked, but have a big issue there with that. Since I've been there, I moved in 2004. Since I've been there, we've had 20 plus water line breaks down there. And what's happening, the majority of these are happening not between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday. Most of them are in the evening, weekends. So we're basically sending out crews from the city for all of these on overtime, doing fixes, and basically our life here for the last several years, we may be taking a shower and all of a sudden the water pressure goes down. We flush the toilet and the bowl doesn't fill back up. Or we just turn on a spigot and the water trickles, and whoever knows it first goes outside and we go, okay, it's their lawn this time. You're either going to have your lawn dug up, your driveway dug up, the street in front of you dug up, or all three. Just depends on where they are. And what happens when we come down, if it's a pipe this long, that pipe gets replaced and it's attached to the rotting pipe, the sewer pipe that is still there. Consequently, we keep having breaks all the time, and it happens. I just heard, I didn't realize June Fairchild has just been in our development for a year. She's had 6 breaks in the year since she's been in our development. So it's very aggravating because we're without water, and basically the women were a lot of them upset because it broke Sunday morning and people weren't able to get ready for church. Some went to church with baths and some without. So did want to mention that the city crew is great. They're very prompt. They are right there, Johnny on the spot, to get it fixed. It's just an inconvenience for us. And they profusely apologize why they're there, that here we are again dealing with this. And 5 years ago, actually 5 years ago to this week, I told the mayor that this doesn't seem to be a very cost-effective means of dealing with this. Why don't we just go in and replace it all instead of paying crews overtime to do this? And he had mentioned at that time that, as we all know, Vienna has a lot of water issues, but he said he was putting us on the board of jobs to be done. That was 5 years ago to this week, and nothing's still been done on that. About 3 weeks ago, we had 2 breaks within a week, and I again called the mayor to talk to him about the situation. He mentioned, well, by now we've probably already replaced most of that piping at this point, and within the next week we had 2 more breaks. We've had 4 breaks in the last 3 weeks on this, and the last one was in my yard. You look outside, you got your lawn's bubbling up and water's coming up out of there, and it was about probably 3 feet from where my lawn was dug up the last time. And the guy was down there, and the split was about this long, and he was putting it in there. So I said, okay, so now you're connecting the new pipe to those 2 old pipes that are still in there. He says, yes, that's what we're told to do. So again, this seems to be a never-ending cycle. And of course, the thing is now, I mean, when we do this, you look and my lawn goes like this, and where they just did it, it goes like this. I spent $600 last year fixing sinkholes from where it was dug up before, because, I mean, the crew, they're good with what they do. They're not landscapers. And you put dirt in there, it's going to rain, it's going to sink. So we're going to have repair work that happens after that. And then I also found out our turnoff is on 3rd Avenue. So the people in the Rivercrest edition, I just found out they all get their water turned off every time ours is turned off. So there's about 8 homes there that are just finding out all of a sudden, oh, we have no water, because they're fixing ours again. So basically, we just would like to quit throwing bad money after good money after bad and get the thing fixed at one time and quit. I just don't think we're very good stewards of our money here by doing all of this on overtime. Like I say, we've had 6 in the last year, 4 in the last 3 weeks. So appreciate your help in getting this taken care of.
So let's talk for a minute, okay?
Let's stop.
Okay? So you're absolutely correct. I mean, you and I are friends. We've known each other for a long, long time.
Yes.
All right? And so this is a piece of the pipe that's out of your development. This is an actual piece of pipe out of your development. Craig, what's the DWV stand for?
Drain waste vent pipe.
Okay? So, Jerry, you're absolutely correct. When this development was built, they put this in as your water pipe. When I say they, whoever the developer was that built that subdivision. Craig, what's the water pressure rating on this pipe?
10 pounds per square inch.
Okay? The city of Vienna has approximately 100 pounds. Okay? And that's why we require certain standard pipes. And so when you look at this and you say, well, every water leak that we get comes in the middle of the night, when everybody in the neighborhood quits using water and goes to bed, the pressure in the pipes build up. All right? And that's what happens. When that development was built, the public works director at that time wrote a letter to city council asking not to take that development into the city of Vienna because of the substandard materials that were there. The council that was sitting at that time voted to take the development in. All right? So we've lived with this problem since it was built. The other issue that's with this particular pipe is when it was built, instead of being a continuous loop where the water would circulate, at the ends of these, they put in T's. And so you've got dead ends all over the place with dead-headed water pressure in that neighborhood. There's nothing that we can do other than put in a whole new line for that entire development and replace every water main to each one of your homes with the standard pipe that will hold the pressure to make this go away. And I know it seems ridiculous, and we've had this conversation, that every time we come out and fix it, we only replace the part of this that's busted. Okay? You can see right there where it's busted.
Right.
All right? But I don't know what the cost estimate would be to tear your entire street up and replace all of that. A couple $100,000, I would guess. Okay? And so we have a lot of money right now. The city's got all this ARP money. The government gave it to it for infrastructure. If council so chooses to designate whatever it takes, we can bid that project out and replace that entire water line. But to take $200,000 out of our operating budget, and I don't have the numbers in front of me right now because it's in our other book, but our utility board water fund probably only has $235,000, $250,000 as our reservoir, which we're required by state code to maintain. Water and sewer, the enterprise fund that Russ went into, it's not a money-making proposition. It is designed so that the water rates that you charge pay for the system. You can't stockpile money other than 12.5%, which is what our contingency fee is, the $235,000 to $250,000. That's our reserve. That's what we have to maintain by state code. Now, if this council wants to vote to allow $250,000 to come out of the ARP funds, then yes, that is an infrastructure project and could be done jointly through the utility board and the federal government money. All right? So that's my only answer to that is we've replaced, and you're right, there have been a lot. I don't know if Craig can verify the 30 or not, but there have been a lot. Okay? And so, we have replaced almost off the pipe on that street, but it's the most cobbled looking mess you've ever seen.
Well, yeah, it's
Okay.
hodgepodge. Like I said, it's not your fault, it's not our fault what happened. It's just we're left to deal with it.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree 100%. Okay? And if this council wants to vote to allocate the money, we'll bid out that project to replace that water line, and we can do it. But we can't take all of that money out of our reserve account and do that one street. And that's why we have to continue to repair it every time it breaks.
And I'd just say, I don't know how much it costs, but I think it would be, I don't know how many thousands of dollars we've spent doing patchwork right now on it, which could have been applied towards fixing it at one point. That's my only thing. And we're gonna continue doing, if we don't do anything, we're gonna continue doing that. 'Cause like I say, the one that was just replaced in my front yard, it was again, one new piece connected to two rotting pieces that we're gonna have a problem with, and they're gonna be back tearing up my yard and/or, well, they had to tear up the street too to do it, so.
So are the patches then, are you replacing it with another piece of the DW?
No, never.
Okay, so you've got water line, sewer line, water line, sewer line. It's just like is that, I mean, I'm trying to figure out, is that what?
Water and sewer lines are nothing at all the same.
No. I'm saying like
This is-
you're replacing, so that's what their water line currently is.
Correct.
And it's not supposed to be. So
Correct.
are we connecting, so that's what's still in the ground. Are we putting, when we
difference-
repair it, are we putting in like the proper water line?
Of course,
And connecting it then to the existing,
of course.
okay.
Yes, and the wall thickness is the key, okay? The thicker the wall, the more pressure it can hold.
So they're patching the broken pipe
With the new, the
With the
actual.
thicker
Yes.
pipe, yeah.
Okay?
How many houses are down there, Jerry, on 45th Place?
We have 7 homes.
7. Are they building a new one? Is there a new one in there?
No.
No. So 7 homes, okay.
Craig, are there any other developments like theirs that have like this actual problem of sewer line that is being used as a water line?
No, this is the only subdivision we have that was used DWV pipe for water purposes. But like I said, like Mayor said, it was 24, 25 years ago, it was approved by council,
Wow.
not being recommended. Tim Masters was the director of public works at that time, he cleared state letter, this subdivision should not be passed.
It wouldn't,
Council at
it,
the time, Mayor, Dave Noe, you got Bill Six, several people that was on there that approved this subdivision.
it would not pass today because there's no cul-de-sac. You can't get emergency vehicles down to, if you had to get a fire truck down your street, it's almost impossible. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, it's got
you
the
have-
T at the end.
Right, you have a T, and you need, you have to have a cul-de-sac now with the proper turning radius, but, and it doesn't matter, it's here. And they're
Yeah.
beautiful homes. It is, it's a nice residential area.
It's not the homes that are the issue.
No, it's not, it's right there, okay? There it is. Tom, you have something?
Does the more good pipe you put in, does that put more pressure on the old pipe?
Now what happens is, since it's a dead end line, which we don't like, because we like to have water circulation, what happens is you all got sprinkler systems, correct? Yeah, most of them do. Yeah, when they come on off, it causes water hamming. And this time of year, you're not gonna have a problem this week. Tomorrow will be our 8th water break we have to repair this week. Okay? That doesn't include the 200 some odd feet of water line we had to replace up 47th Street because we worked every 48 hours repairing leaks because of the old line. So we've been busy, but throughout the city, there's several areas that has water pipe issues. You go the inch and a quarter galvanized line. We have 53rd Street. We have 400 feet of inch and a quarter galvanized line. We've had more leaks in that line than we have on this line. So, and there's 30 houses on it. So there's, again, like I talked to you before, there's places throughout the city that needs upgraded water lines. I can recommend it, we do it. You all have to review it and say, okay, this is the one we want to do. Okay.
You know, the problem with this whole situation is your hands are tied by the Public Service Commission regulations, okay? You're not allowed to build a savings account. It doesn't work that way. And the city of Vienna has the least expensive water rates of any municipality in the state of West Virginia. We are the cheapest city for water rates. Now, in order to get more money you have to raise the rates. Nobody likes to pay more for water. I can tell you that right now. All right? But that's the only answer because, Craig, the situation on 53rd Street, there again, every one of these jobs is going to be a lot of money. Okay? So we do them as we can. That's the only way that it works. You know, it's a balancing act. You either want cheap water or you want to be able to maintain your water lines. I don't know the answer. Okay? I mean, it's just you're either going to have to vote for a rate increase so we can generate more water or more money out of our water system, or we're going to have to do these projects as we can. That's all there is to it. I mean, this ARP money is a gift, and we don't get money like this. I mean, we never have. All right? So, I mean, that money's not been accounted for. You know, $250,000 could be earmarked for that, and then it could be done, and you wouldn't have to do it again. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Yes, sir, Tom?
I didn't understand. My question was, the more good pipe you put in, does that put more pressure on the bad pipe?
Probably.
The more good pipe you in, the less breaks you're gonna have, I guess. It's gonna break. The old pipe is always gonna break. I mean, it's designed for 10 pounds. Like Randy said, we deal with 100 pounds of pressure in our system. So every time we replace a section of pipe and put dressers in, that's one of that sections is gonna break. But yet you still have the old pipe in place too. It's gonna break eventually.
It's not like a balloon, Tom, where, you know, this part's good and solid and the pressure goes and makes it swell. I mean, it's not it. I mean, it evens out, but the water pressure's just, I mean, it's good. It's good water pressure. You want to take a shower, you got good water pressure.
Water pressure, the break would go to the weakest point.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's why this is what happens. But I don't think we've had a break on the new water pipe, have we? Yeah.
So I have a question. So Craig, how many rate increases have we had since you've been director? And that's over how many years?
23 years.
I mean,
Say, Mr. Azinger didn't hear you. How many years?
23.
23 years. We've had 2 rate increases in 23 years. Well, I mean, for me, I think we need to get this problem fixed for our residents. I mean, it's ridiculous that all this time has gone by and we haven't addressed this issue at any point in time. It's unfortunate that a previous council did the wrong thing, but we have a responsibility to these residents.
Can I ask a question? So in the utility board meetings, do you guys review, because I've listened to a few times, but do you guys review like, okay, we've had this many breaks, and like, are you charting or are you guys discussing when, like, okay, we're like the frequency places, you mentioned, was it 47th, 57th? I can't remember. I get them all confused, but you've got, you have some areas that you know are like, we're going there again, we're going there again, we're going there again. So are you guys kind of, are you already kind of putting that plan together? Or are you I don't.
Yeah, actually, for a year and a half now, we've been implementing new data program, our new software. It does keep track of where we're out and we're replacing. I can bring them out to you next week, and you'll be shocked at the amount of leaks and water lines repaired in the last year. 200 throughout the city. So
Okay.
yeah, we do keep track of that now. The lady came up to my office last week and she requested how many leaks you've had in the subdivision. I couldn't answer that because what happened was in the past, we kept everything in a little red book. We handwrote them down, what were our daily reports, and I got 23 years of little red books. I'd have to go through page by page to see how many leaks I have in that subdivision. We don't do that anymore. We actually keep it on the computer and with progress reports showing exactly what we did, what happened, what caused it, what we did to repair it. But it's only a year and a half old.
Because I do think, Craig, I know you guys do a great job, but then again, I think about, you know what, you've been here at 2 rate increases in 23 years. That's awesome for the residents, but now there's money. If we had done a slight increase every year, it wouldn't be a big increase one time because we have to redonate more money, obviously, because, you know, 75% of the people coming here and talk at the public forum are waterline issues. It's probably more than that. So now this council has to take into consideration, or utility board, I guess, what increase there needs to be, because we got some major water problems. We got a great crew. Craig has a great crew, and they're on top of every water line there is. But if the money's not there to fix things, it's not there. So how do you generate money? It's a rate increase, and everybody hates to hear that. I think, I know, Craig, your water bill from here to Parkersburg when you lived here is crazy, the difference. So until you generate more money, we can't fix all things because, like Randy said, we have the ARP money, but it's $1.6 million. How far is that going to go? There's 10 other projects that want, $200,000. So the money's not there. So as the council, as utility board, something's got to happen to generate more money for our cities, because we have a great city, but the biggest downfall, we all know what it is our infrastructure. And so we have to generate funds, and like that's why I wanted Russ to explain. The city has all this money, but it's not for the enterprise fund. You can't use this money, so it's just from the water rates and things like that, the water we sell. So I'm not an advocate of a rate increase, but there has to be something done, to keep up with the cost, because nothing's getting cheaper, So I just know it's coming. So I don't want to do it, but after 2 rate increases in 23 years, it's probably time, because we have some major issues, and we just don't have the funds to fix everything out there.
And I'll say, I mentioned before that me as a citizen here, do I enjoy a low rate? Yes, but how frustrating it is. I mean, you've got a low rate, but do you just love your low rate when they're digging
I'd
up your
rather
yard
pay
every
higher.
time?
I'd rather pay a little bit higher.
Thank you. I mean, that's me. I would too. Like if I know that the money that I am paying is actually taking care of stuff, I'm good with that. But if the money I'm paying is just enough to meet the minimum, it's paying the bills, it's paying the employees, it's taking care of little tiny things, I'm not okay with that. I would rather pay more for good service, and I don't feel like we're able to provide that for everybody right now.
Mr. Azinger.
Could you have a rate increase and then every year tie it to the CPI, Consumer Price Index?
Some of the cities do that. They bump it 2% every year, every other year.
That way you wouldn't have a
Okay.
revolution.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I remember previous rate increases, and it wasn't pleasant.
nope. But I mean, that is the truth. I mean, we just, if you want to get ahead of these water lines, you have to have the funds available.
There we go. And that's our biggest issue.
So
So
if you tie it to the CPI, then that will alleviate this problem forever.
You can pick whatever multiplier you want. I mean, that seems to be a fair one. So, but
And
at
again,
any
is
rate,
that on us, or is that on the utility board then?
the utility board would make the request for a rate increase. It would come to the council for approval, and then it would go to the Public Service Commission because they have to approve any rate increases.
Why don't we try to consider tying to the CPI?
it's an option.
I mean, the cost price index. That's a good. I mean,
If somebody's water bill went up $1, they might not
Right.
bring their guns to town.
Well, just so everybody knows, the utility board right now is looking at a rate study for water and for sewer because of the upcoming projects that we do have. This wasn't a consideration Friday at our meeting. This wasn't discussed, and I'm on the Vienna utility board. It wasn't until Ms. Fairchild called me over the weekend that I was aware of this problem. So, once again, we can't solve anything if we don't know what the problem is. And so I feel at a disadvantage as a council member and also somebody who sits on the Vienna utility board that I didn't know about that. So those rate increases, they're being looked at, how that money, how the ARP money would impact, what we do, all the different things we need to do, whether it's sewer or water, et cetera. So that's being looked at. So I think that this broadens the discussion a little bit further because I believe we do need to get this taken care of. It's been 20 plus years. It's way too long.
all right, Jerry.
I appreciate it.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thanks for coming, Jerry.
Thank you.
And Brenda, just before we go on to our regular agenda, you asked about the restrooms at Spencer's Landing. The project for the money to extend the water line from 28th Street up to 32nd Street would have included the cutover to Spencer's Landing to install, and that project's not been approved. So there's no water on that side of the railroad tracks yet for the residents there or for any future development. So the restrooms are not a possibility right now. Okay? All right.
Now we're ready for roll call.
Huh?
Now we're ready for roll call.
There we go. Let the record reflect that I've
Thanks,
taken
Jerry.
roll that all members of council are present, having a quorum. We will proceed. The minutes from the council meeting held on August the 12th, 2021 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, then the minutes will stand approved as posted. The report of the treasurer will be given at the first meeting in September, and so we move into the unfinished business. We have no unfinished business this evening, and we go to new business. First item on our agenda this evening is a resolution to take action or consider action on the 12th Street land lease agreement. Mr. Skogstad.
Resolution to consider action on the 12th Street land sale lease agreement. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that it hereby authorizes the mayor and the city attorney to take any and all action, including litigation, to resolve the status of the 12th Street land sale lease agreement with Ace Educational Foundation Incorporated.
Okay. This basically gives us the right to go and negotiate with this and the new entity that has replaced the Ace Educational Foundation, the Vienna Indoor Aquaculture Group. So what we're going to do is we're going to meet with them and we're going to try to work out the details of how this has to be brought up to current status. If it's not, then we will come back to council and we will discuss the options of what to do as far as either taking the property back or restructuring their agreement or whatever the terms can be negotiated. Okay? We just have a problem now where we're kind of at a dead end and we need to move. All right? Okay? So I'll entertain a motion for the resolution to consider action on the 12th Street land lease agreement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution to consider action on the 12th Street land sale lease agreement. Is there any further discussion?
All right, I think, we had I know what's going, they're not paying. So my thing is, we cut the chase, we remove them from the building and take the land back. I mean, as simple as that. If we can do that legally, I mean, I know it was a lease to own. They failed on their part. We have things in the condition that we can take the land
Mike,
back.
Excuse me, 1 second.
What I wanted to do is, rather than have this discussion in open forum, is ask council to consider having an executive session so we can make sure everybody's on the same page without going into any additional detail at this point.
Okay. I think it should be talked about out here. I mean, I think it's open forum. I mean, I don't see why we go, because the city wants to know about this, and we're going to go in there and have an executive session and come out and say, well, nothing's been resolved, and we didn't have any discussion for the people want to know the answers to this, because it's a burning question about what's going on 12th Street, and if we go behind that door, we're going to come out and tell them nothing. So I think I'm comfortable with having it out here.
I'm just the attorney.
All right.
The reason I was asking is there may be issues, details, there may be issues, details, advice that is better given not in a public forum, but that's not my call.
Well, as I understand it, this resolution at this point is just giving the mayor and the attorney the approval to proceed with considering, and that's what it says. Resolution to consider, not to make decisions. Correct.
Well, mine was the body of the resolution says that it authorizes the mayor and city council, or I'm sorry, the city attorney to take any and all steps, including litigation, to resolve the issue. So the resolution as it's written, you would be authorizing the mayor and myself to take whatever legal actions are necessary to resolve the status of the pending agreement. And that could be a number of different legal avenues.
Yeah, so the resolution is extremely broad, as written.
Yes.
If you approve it, it's extremely broad. And I know I have questions, lots of questions.
And your questions are?
Well, if nobody's gonna make a motion to go in executive session, I mean, then we're just gonna talk about it, I suppose.
I mean, does it compromise, I'm not sure
You can
what
stop
you're
this whenever, I
Well-
guess.
saying.
I mean, it could. The thing is, I can't predict the questions that you're going to ask, and it may all be innocuous. I mean, Mr. Elam has pretty much stated what the problem is. The problem is that they're in arrears. The question is, what does council want to do about it? And I can lay out the options here or there. I would prefer to do it in executive session so that some of the options, our hand isn't tipped, so to speak, but I serve at the will and pleasure of mayor and council.
How far, excuse me.
I'm sorry, no, you're fine.
How far behind are they?
Where are we at? Probably a month.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing that's uncomfortable about this is when you're talking about agreements that were made and situations that exist. Russ, you're the lawyer. I don't know what to say.
Well,
I mean, I can tell them everything there is if that's what you want.
I asked for an executive session.
Okay?
Whatever council wants.
I'll move for an executive session so we at least can get the parameters of our legal advice as to, if there's anything we shouldn't be talking about in an open forum that would prejudice the rights of the city. Not keep anything from them, and then we can come back and just
Open the
understand if
discussion
we have any
again.
questions, yeah.
Okay, if we come back and open the discussion again, I'm cool with that. Heck yeah.
Second?
Second, I'll give you your second, yeah.
All right, so all those in favor of executive session, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? Let the record reflect we went into executive session at 6:47.